One thing I like about the way you teach, man, is you do such a phenomenal job of teaching concepts that relate really well for both sport, jiu-jitsu, and self-defense situations, which I think is really important because at the end of the day, like, yes, we're doing a martial art, but it is a combat system. It's a self-defense system too. It's kind of the base of it. So it's nice to see someone that's pointing out, hey, by the way, if you're doing this, be mindful of these type of things in a real altercation. For people out there listening who train in like a primarily sport-focused school, what do you think are some pieces of advice you offer typically to ensure that the skills they're building transition well in an actual self-defense situation?
Man, well, I think that the main thing is just to put your mindset there sometimes, I mean, and to be honest with yourself, because I think there's a lot of, I think it goes both ways. There's a lot of like heavily self-defense oriented schools that really kind of poo-poo the idea of sportive measures, and they think that anything sport related is going to be like it's all reverse de la worm guard. I mean, they go to the farthest extreme, and I think it's a fallacious argument on both sides. So you get the sports schools that are just like, what, self-defense is stupid. If somebody tries to hit you with a stick, or if you get into a fight in a parking lot, it's like, just training whatever you're training sport wise is going to be sufficient. And a lot of cases, they're not far off, I don't think. I mean, I think that there's definitely some merit to the fact that, you take a D1 wrestler and he's going to be okay in a street fight, and it's like on most categories. He's also going to be perfectly fine versus a really good boxer, so it's there's a lot of overlap. But I think that, not everybody spends that much time in the sport, and so I think that whenever somebody comes in, most people that come into a martial arts school of any kind, first and foremost, are wanting to learn self-defense, or wanting to learn how to handle themselves in some kind of physical conflict, whatever that may be. And I think that requires some guidance and some explanation. So I think for the most part, I think that whenever I'm teaching something, it comes across pretty obviously if you're going to be able to pull that off in a fight or not. But if I think that there's some lack of clarity, then I'll make sure to mention, like, if you're playing this position, you're going for this submission here, you're looking for this sweep or this transitional movement or whatever, take into account that if this is a fight, you're going to be susceptible to punches here. Or, if this is, think about if you're doing this on gravel versus, on mats, think about doing this in a enclosed space with furniture around versus doing this in a wide open matted area with nothing else. So, those things I think deserve consideration, because at the end of the day, we are practicing a martial art that has an absolutely amazing, beautiful, sportive aspect to it. And it has, it is something to teach you how to protect yourself and to defend yourself and other people. So if you're really going to pay homage to it, I think that it's a little unfair and a little inconsiderate to just completely eschew the other side and say that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was beautifully said, man. I definitely agree with you, man. I'm someone that, like, I've said it a million times on the podcast at this point, but I'm someone that really loves all branches of the tree of the art, man. But and I think that like you said, if you have like a D1 wrestler or a sport jiu-jitsu black belt, most likely most guys on the street are not going to be ready for the kind of skills he possesses under his belt, And I think that, but at the same time, it is very important to understand things like distance management and punch control and being able to identify situations. Just situational awareness, like you said, if there's objects around or how much space you have or things like that. So I think it's great that you tie it all together so well, man. On this topic, let's say that like a student ends up in a situation where he has to take someone to the ground in an altercation. And obviously one variable that will be different than most training sessions is the fact that your opponent's going to be trying to strike you. So what do you feel are some important things to keep in mind when strikes are part of the equation on the ground?
I think that the just spatial considerations, I mean, I think that there's a lot of positions where you're actively trying to make space or fill space or close spaces. And I think that understanding both sides of that striking equation are crucial to that, because, and you can see case study after case study in MMA. And I mean, that's one of the best like case study resources that we have to watch and, to practice with. So I think that, people should, if that's any interest of theirs at all, if they just have, it's if nobody wants to learn about what to do in a self-defense situation or in a street fight, then that's perfectly fine, as long as you're honest about it to yourself and the people that you train with. Or if your primary focus is self-defense, then that's perfectly fine too. But I think if you have any interest in doing that, I think that periodically, at least, even if you spend most of your time gi grappling only, then I think it's a good idea sometimes to throw on those 4-ounce gloves, or to have somebody throw on even, some big gloves, and try to show you where some shots are going to land in those situations. So, I mean, I think the way that you're going to be able to navigate those spaces, and understanding where you're susceptible to being hit on the ground, that's where it really all comes from, is just immersing yourself in those situations, and seeing what opportunities are there.